Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Game and Compute. We talk about side hustles on here, as well as finance, education, income, jobs, careers. Today I want to talk more about quiet quitting, about quitting versus quiet quitting. So one example, Ken Coleman gave an example of when he was younger and working at a McDonald's at a certain age. He said he only worked there for a few days, and he gave this new example about the McDonald's employees currently working during this new campaign that McDonald's has now created, an adult Happy Meal. So an adult Happy Meal has a Big Mac. It's either a Big Mac combo or a or a 10-piece chicken nugget combo. So the adult Happy Meal, let's talk about that. They say that the boxes don't stack properly. They say that that burger combo and chicken nugget combo is significantly more complex to create compared to the combo you would make the combo you would make for a child-sized Happy Meal. And in addition, the adult Happy Meal has one of 4 toys in it. I forgot what. I know one of them's the Hamburglar, and then there's that purple thing, and 2 other ones. I don't remember the McDonald characters' names, but they'll have like 4 eyes, and they're limited edition. And then there's also t-shirts that range from $60 to $100 something. They're kind of like dollars, and they're kind of like a nostalgic. It's to create like a nostalgic experience, but also these are limited edition. And it seems like for morale boosting, they're thinking that the reason why the orders are becoming so overwhelming is because possibly, employers might be ordering these for work meetings, for lunch meetings. And so then you have this influx of like maybe 30 orders at a time, like 25 orders at a time or whatever, and those orders all need to go to like one place, and then it slows down service for everything else. And of course this is going to be like during peak hours, during times when people are ordering meals. Like, people aren't going to order all this for themselves. Like, nobody needs like 30 McDonald's adult meals or whatever. But it just sounds like chaos. And so he was explaining, like, he wasn't working during this time. He was working far before this even existed, because these are fairly new. And he explained that just the pace of things was just too much to even want to keep the job. And McDonald's is fast. They're known for being fast. And so it is a little bit troubling, to think that, the McDonald's closest to me, the last time I went over there, they had a $18 an hour pay rate. And I forgot where I was listening, where somebody was saying, just to live, it was another Ken Coleman episode, but someone was doing calculations where they were saying just to live with a certain amount of cost of living was like, to live independently, you'd need to be making like $36 or $35 an hour. I've calculated for my own cost of living, what I would need would be about $40 an hour before deductions. That would be just to live, just to live, just to have a place, have a functioning car, afford gas, food, a little bit of spending money to go out, some money to a little bit save and invest, and then the money that would already be contributing to my retirement, as well as take it out from taxes living in California. I need $40 an hour, and I don't have a lot of credit card debt, nothing like that. It's just student loans. And so, yes, it's a lot of student loans, but it's just student loans. So if I need $40 an hour, most people are probably going to need close to that too, if not maybe a little bit more. If they're not investing or anything, they might not need that much. Or if they want to choose roommates, you could probably live off of about half. So in my area, people who are working at McDonald's likely need to live with one other person to be able to afford the cost of rent, because rent is over $1,000 to rent a room. And so you're usually gonna need to make closer to $20-ish an hour. And there's nothing wrong with roommates or anything like that, but if you think of it that way, that's kind of like they're a little bit maybe below the minimum amount that you would need to kind of just be able to have one roommate in an apartment or something, and have your own private bedroom, and access to like utilities, living room, kitchen, bathroom, washer, dryer kind of situation. And I don't know if that includes transportation, possibly. If you have car payments, though, that's different. I don't have car payments. I just have to pay for gas and maintenance, but that is an expense. And so, considering all that, when work demands get too high, the opposite of quiet quitting becomes quitting. Now, I think the difference between quiet quitting and quitting really comes down to, are you working at the job, or are you trying to not work at the job? People who are quiet quitting, I mean, the term itself, just the phrasing of it doesn't necessarily explain what you're doing. Quiet quitting seems like, it is not this, but it seems like a person is taking company money, doing some kind of fraudulent behavior or lack of work, lying or something along those lines. Quiet quitting is not that. That is not what quiet quitting is. Quiet quitting actually is doing the work. But if your company sets a certain demand, you do the work up to that demand. You don't take on more work. You're not, slacking off. You're not coming in. You're not like avoiding doing your job. You're doing your job as is written, as is expected of you to the T, but you're not doing more than that. You're not trying to make maybe like a competitive impression. But quiet quitting can lead to quitting a lot of times too, because I feel like the reason why people quiet quit has more to do with the motivation of the job. Now, it's easy to think that somebody who doesn't quit their job and instead quiet quits, as in they do the job just what's expected of them, come in on the dot when it's expected, you're not starting work earlier, You're not staying later. You're not, doing overtime if you don't need it. You're just only doing exactly what's expected of you. I feel like I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I'm kind of curious as to why it seems like there are a lot of leaders out there that seem like it's like unethical or like wrong. But I feel like if the leaders set those demands, why should the workers have to work harder than what the demands are set to? To me, that's the part that I'm trying to really understand, is why are they so upset? I mean, I understand that they're upset because they're losing money. They're not getting their company making the money that it needs to make if everybody's only doing exactly what's expected of them without that competitive edge, and not going and like running themselves ragged. But also, it's like, if you have a job that you're satisfied enough with, or that you're motivated in, or feel that interests you, or something that just like piques your interest, you're gonna want to spend more energy. You're gonna have more desire to kind of like perform higher than you would if you just aren't feeling it, and I personally don't think people should be penalized for quiet quitting. It's a different story if you're just not working, if you're not doing your job, you're cutting corners, you're slacking off. If you're just not, adequately performing, like there are definitely standards that companies set for a certain reason. But say, for example, you're that McDonald's worker who you already know your financial situation isn't going to be like too easy. If that's the only job you have, you're working 8 hours. Yeah, you have good benefits and all these things, and it's not bad money, 18 an hour, and it's not a bad job, but also, there are some freedoms you're not going to be allowed to have, making that pay rate. So, just looking at it like that, it can be hard to remain motivated, honestly. Like, I think, people might have a complicated time trying to stay motivated when there's some campaign that comes out that makes you have to work more, harder, and you're not getting paid more for more work. You're not getting paid a higher rate. You're not getting incentivized. As far as I know, there's no incentive, to work more, work harder, do more, go above and beyond the minimum. My current job has an incentive. It's a quarterly incentive, but there's an incentive to get more than the minimum amount of clients. Our productivity stays the same. But we have a certain amount of clients that we can get, that we are allowed to get. There's a max that we're allowed to have, and then like before we need approval, and then there's like the amount that is considered above and beyond, the minimum caseload. There's the minimum caseload, and then there's the caseload that gets you the incentive, which is 5 clients higher. And then once you pass a certain amount of clients, you get $50 per enrollment, after that point. But that this money's trickling down. You're doing more work, you're getting incentivized. I wonder how much the company gets incentivized, so it's kind of like, if you're getting a certain incentive bonus every quarter, your company must be getting money because you're doing that work, and they're probably getting way more than you are, and they're probably not putting that money into the company and resources and all that kind of stuff. They're probably pocketing that money somewhere at the top, or a lot of it, or a big portion of it, which is still bigger than the portion you're getting. And so I'm going to speak to this in another episode, but I can kind of see things both ways. You know, if you're the person doing the labor, that's different than the owner of a company. I mean, if you came up with an idea and you proposed an idea and you created a business and you know how much people need to work and what the productivity levels look like for your company to function, you know, and you hired people on to do this work, you know, you can kind of do whatever you want, but we all know, everyone knows, working for a company, you usually are getting exploited to some extent. And I can kind of see it both ways. I mean, if I made a company, of course, you know, the people doing the labor aren't going to get paid as much as the owner of the company. You know, if I made it and it's mine, I'm going to figure out what I need for my own profit, and then what is fair pay for someone else to do whatever the jobs are that I don't really want to do, so I can do whatever I need to do on my own end, to keep the thing running. Now, I've never had employees. I've outsourced things before, but I've never had employees. But that's a whole different topic for another episode. But, you know, I'm curious to know what other people think, because that's kind of how I'm seeing it. You know, when people are quitting, you know, usually there's a reason why they're quitting. Usually it's because they don't like the pay, or they don't like the workload, or they don't like the coworkers, or they don't like their boss, or they just, you know, I've mentioned this before. I had a friend who had a job like counting like screws and bolts and, you know, nails and things like that, like thousands of them at a time. You know, it's like by hand, and then having to recount. It's like, oh my gosh, like jobs like that. I mean, who's gonna do that for like years on end for 8 hours every day? It's like you can't even multitask in that job. You can't even do like another thing, and you're gonna have to basically just do that all day every day. So yeah, I mean, things like that definitely are something to keep in mind when it comes to the topics of quiet quitting, and then the difference between quitting and quiet quitting. Usually, you know, if a person is actually quitting their job, there's usually a reason why. The reasons might actually be the same as the reason why the person is quiet quitting, but usually with quiet quitting, it's like, well, you might want to keep the job enough, but just do the minimum at that job. I would say that it makes more sense to find a job where you want to naturally go above and beyond, because you like it, because it benefits your day, because you feel like it adds, you know, improvement and, you know, quality to your life. That's what I would say. But you know, it is a sticky, tricky subject. It's really a complex topic, because, you know, I work like a lot of people, you know, and I feel the pressures too, you know. I hit productivity, and then I'm like, okay, like, what, why keep going? You know, like, I'm not saying that the thought never crosses my mind, you know. But that's another story for another day. But all right, so with that, thanks for listening.